I would like to invite Brina to come forward to read a blessing from all of you that we heard at the conference that we were at in Chicago.
I apologize. I guess I'm going to be a bit like Pastor Kelly because this is a bit long, but I hope you'll stick with me. When I was asked to talk about Inhabit, this was what I felt like summarized the whole thing the best, and it was gifted to us at the very end of the conference. The groans of winter are cacophonous here in the valley of the hopeless. The barrier walls block the sun, and the ice in our streets won't melt. Can anything good come from our Nazareth? The easy stuff is finished. All that is left is the hard work. So bundle up, my friends, and let the cold blow through your bodies. Turn your imagination against what seems final. Animate these bones that rest at our feet, picked dry of life, and remember, you are never alone. The heron stands watch over our vacant lots, and darkness is a time to find each other. Reach out in the night, search the forgotten places for that friendly hug from the fuzzy-bearded lichen, the one who lay still and waited, wide awake. For the grass never sleeps. The ground stands at attention at the sun's first rays, and choruses of sprouting peonies sing, hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn. God lives here. Shalom is coming. They thought we were dead and buried, consumed and forgotten. They thought they could scatter us in the wind or destroy us with fire, but they didn't know we were seeds. And we have kept a secret recipe hiding in the trees. The longer the winter, the sweeter the sap. So let the breath of Yahweh, the antifreeze, flow through your veins. Nothing thrives without this grace. Join as delighted poets in creation's act of resistance in the morning frost. The colder the winter, the sweeter the sap. Feel the gritty soil under your fingernails as you plunge your hands into the earth, opening the graves of the slain. Where there is waste and rot, you will sow empathy with your audacious migrant faith. The harsher the climate, the sweeter the sap. Pay attention with all your senses. Notice the defrosted love seeping out from under our church doors. God is in the streets. Pay attention to God's countenance in a stranger's eyes. Their yard signs aren't the whole story. That neighbor is a Willie James you just haven't met. That chance encounter is a friend who may never leave your side. Welcome the sounds of songwriters gathered around your backyards. The echoes of Jericho ring off razor-wired walls. Women are walking and singing Hope's refrain. They're calling ICE agents to join a new song. Pay attention to the smell of baptismal sweat of friendships formed in boxing rings. The saffron and coriander that waft through the hallways, rendering your packed lunch obsolete. And an aroma of invitation to cuddle up in the prayer life of Jesus fills the room like a piece of freshly baked cornbread. So let's respond yes, and release the busyness gripped tightly in your fist, grab your garden shears, and I'll grab mine. The heron is back on its perch, and those vacant lots now bloom with thunderous hope. Prune away, my friend. Prune the devil in those details. Cut back that insidious, invasive species distraction. Let us make an in-between space that is neither yours, mine, but ours. The banquet table awaits us. A radical potluck is plated. Come to the table. Come be whole. Come to be loved. All are welcome. The table is set for the harvest of our dirt work and brimming with hip-hop cafes, belonging around fire pits, intentional sowing of dreams, shared vision for a hope-filled future, kind words in the support of our neighbors, redemption stories, astonishment in the ordinary, a church made of flesh and bones, not brick and mortar or desegregated Sundays. The bounty is salted with our tears, made sweeter because it came from our cold, dark places, and is now shared with the beloved community. Use that reclaimed wood from the forgotten weathered steeple and build a table with me, and sit long enough to listen, learn, and be changed. Oh, God is here with you, and we're in it too. Neighbors help you survive. God is here with us. Keep us at the table. Amen.
I want to invite Jake to come forward and to share with you all a question that came up for him while he was at the conference with all of us. And also, Jake, while you're walking up, I feel like I should tell everyone, keep coming. I should tell everyone about the Italian ice that we had and how it was the greatest thing we've ever tasted. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jake. I'm going to look down. I'm not going to look up because the crowds make me nervous. So a question that came up for me was, how can we be a better host for our neighborhoods? How can we be a church? Sorry, like I said, I'm nervous. How can we be a better church for our neighborhoods? One way that we can be better as a host is by finding out how else can we be a better host? Will you think about this question with me? Thank you.
Good job. And will you all pray with me as we prepare to hear from Connie this morning? Lord, may the words of Connie's mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be pleasing in your sight, our rock and our redeemer. Amen.
So, what in the world is Inhabit? When Pastor Alexa and Pastor B invited me to attend this conference in Chicago, that was my first question. The conference app describes the conference as a gathering of friends, neighbors, and co-laborers rooted in the conviction that God is renewing people and places. This year's theme was Sacred Ground, Rhythms of Renewal for Life on the Ground. It was described as a chance to listen, practice, notice, and respond to God's movement in the neighborhoods that we love. My second question to Pastors Alexa and B was whether this was committing me to speak. And they said, no, just attend, and if there's anything you want to share later, you could do so. So here we are. The conference was held in Lawndale, a neighborhood in Chicago, at the Lawndale Christian Community Church. And we quickly realized that this place had a deep story of faithful presence, collaboration, and hope. Starting from a school group led by one of the teachers at the local high school, it has grown over its 40-ish years in existence. And as you looked around the neighborhood, you saw not only the Lawndale Christian Community Church, but the Christian Community Health Center, the Legal Center, the Community Development Association, a recovery center, a dance studio, a gym, a cafe, an aquaponics farm growing food for the neighborhood, a grocery store, and more. It just went on and on. We arrived at the conference a few minutes late. Having circled the block a few times with the giant van that B was driving and attempting to find a place to park with all 8 of us in it. Here's a photo of all 8 of us taking up a whole row in the Lawndale Community Church where the main group sessions were led. By the time we had checked in and joined the opening session, the music was underway. We stood at the back as we let our eyes adjust to the lower light inside and checking out the lay of the land. And as the music ended, we spotted some scattered open seats, and we broke up and slid quietly into them. I took a seat on an aisle off to the right, and the woman sitting next to me welcomed me right away. I was immediately drawn to her. She had this quiet, calm, peaceful presence, something I aspire to be. And after the few opening remarks, I was surprised when she excused herself and went up to the stage to speak. Her name was Karen, and she led a short devotion at the beginning of each of the main sessions in the chapel. The 4 main sessions aligned with the seasons of the year. Each session had music, this devotion, keynote or guest speakers, and presentations from groups and organizations who were carrying out this kind of work as they served their neighborhoods. I fell in love with Karen's short devotions, and they became one of my favorite parts of the conference. So that's what I'm going to share with you today, is a little about those. Between the sessions, there were multiple small group workshops and pilgrimages out into the neighborhood to see the work being done there. The conference didn't hand out answers. It didn't give us a list of here's what you need to do when you get back home. But instead, it provided inspiration, and it provided us with many questions to bring home and think about within our own neighborhoods. Throughout the conference, there were 2 artists working with us. The first one, as the music played and the speakers shared and the guests provided examples of how they were working in our neighborhoods, created this free-flowing board of notes, creating a beautiful mural of our thoughts and ideas. This thing was about 5 feet tall and 12 feet wide. It was huge at the back. And you can see the seasons, and she filled in each one of those blocks as we met for our 4 main group sessions. The other artists painted while we worked. While we had our sessions, this painter was painting away on one side of the room, and it was mesmerizing to watch him work and see this image emerge from the canvas before our eyes. Karen's first devotion was about lichen. Who knew that there were lessons to learn from lichen? This is a picture of some of the lichen on the tree in my front yard. Lichen live as a true village, a community that benefits and is shaped by everything around it. The countless species of lichen that grow in nearly every habitat on our planet are formed through a symbiotic partnership between multiple organisms. There are more than 2,000 species of lichen living here in the Northwest. If you look around, you will start to see them everywhere. The lichen communities consist of an outer crust of a fungi, which protects them from the sun and from deteriorating forces, and a delicate inner filaments of algae, which provide food for the community through photosynthesis. They also contain strains of yeast and bacteria, which shape their body and provide a role in reproduction. They also live in a symbiotic relationship with everything around them: the mosses, the trees, the ferns, the flowers, the rocks, and the animals. First question: what can paying attention to lichen or the other things that are around us that we're not seeing, how could this teach us about how to live as a community of many different beings, cooperating with one another and being shaped by others so that our whole can become greater than the sum of our parts? Lichen can survive in harsh environments where the individual species of algae or fungi would not survive alone. Together, they can survive the winter by photosynthesizing in sub-zero temperatures, producing antifreeze protein in their tissues, or producing surface ice crystals that insulate and protect themselves. Once you start noticing them, you will find them everywhere. I challenge you all to look for lichen today. Lichen bring restoration to barren landscapes, and without them, we would perish. They were the first photosynthesizers, and they created this oxygen-rich world. Because they are everywhere, and we don't even notice them, they sequester more carbon than the Amazon rainforest. They take nitrogen from the air and return it to our soil, which feeds our leafy green plants. And over time, they break down rock and bring stability to barren areas and create new soil. How can our community work together to survive and create new soil like the lichen? If we don't notice the lonely lichen, what else are we not seeing that might be crucial to our ability to thrive here? I love spring. It's my favorite season of the year. I celebrate that moment in late winter when I notice the first signs of the trees budding. I always stop to marvel at that tiny, fresh green bud I see at the end of the stick of the branch of the tree, and I feel my hope awaken and my spirit dance. Have any of you ever tapped a sugar maple tree? Ooh, we got a couple. Yay. Well, that's not something that I have ever done. Tapping a sugar maple tree and making maple syrup doesn't really exist here in the Pacific Northwest, unless somebody is harboring a tree in their backyard, but they don't grow naturally here. Karen, the woman leading the devotions, lives near the Appalachian Mountains, and so it's something that they do there every year. She talked about how the maple trees suck in their sap when they freeze and then drip sap when they thaw. This is different than most hardwood trees because the fibers in the maple tree are filled with gas. Therefore, when it freezes, the moisture moves inward. And when they thaw, the moisture moves outward. A long, slow winter makes a really good spring tap flow. And there's a precise moment when you should tap the maple tree and let the sap run. And then there's a moment when that run is over and it's time to pull the taps. Karen suggested that our neighborhood work is kind of like gathering sap and make maple syrup. We need to pay attention for signs of new life and be ready to let that life and light flow. How can we awaken to the precise moments when it's time for us to set the taps so that we catch that sweetness that's flowing all around us, like the sap flowing from a maple tree? And how can we work in tandem with the seasonal shifts to optimize our sap flow? What signs might indicate that a sap run is over and it's time to give thanks and pull the taps on that particular project? Another thing we don't have here in the Pacific Northwest are fireflies. I love fireflies, having grown up some in the Midwest and in the South. When I was younger, my camp name was Firefly. Photinus carolinus is a species of firefly that spends much of its life as larvae in the darkness under the soil surface. And when they emerge as winged adults in the early summer, their abdominal lanterns flash with bioluminescence. The males are brighter because they have two segments that flash, while the females' dimmer flash is only one segment of their abdomen. This species of lightning bugs amazingly synchronizes their flashes. The males will flash 4 to 8 times over a few seconds, and then they go dark for 8 to 12 seconds. And during this period of darkness, the females reply with their dimmer signals And it's only through this darkness that the males can find the females. Working together with the community to create those periods of darkness and paying attention to those dimmer flashes of light allows the fireflies to find one another, to reproduce and to thrive in their community. Are we ready to emerge from the darkness and spread the light that we can give? What can we do to protect those periods of darkness or calm or quiet in our lives so that we are ready and can pay attention to the God-made lights flashing around us? The last devotion was about autumn, paying attention to seeds. As the earth turns into autumn, plants race to replicate themselves by channeling all the energy from the sun, the water, the soil nutrients into little seeds. Autumn's an astonishing time of seed dispersal and hope for renewal. Some seeds transport themselves on the wind with the tiny puff that helps them float away. Helicopter seeds scatter and spin. Edible fruits contain seeds that are eaten by animals who disperse them, along with a perfect packet of nutrient-rich soil. And trees produce nuts, which can be consumed by animals, but some are cached away and buried and forgotten to sprout the following year. The resinous cones are dispersed after a fire, when the burned area becomes the perfect environment for new growth. What can plants teach us about how to work in tandem with the elements and the environment around us to help disperse the gifts of life and love that we want to plant in the world? In autumn, we also gather the harvest, gather to feast with our community, and give thanks for our abundance. We closed the conference by gathering for a beautiful meal, lovingly prepared using freshly harvested foods from Karen's farm. The band continued to play as we filled our plates, ate, and prepared for our journeys home. As the seasonal cycle ends each year and begins anew, we can reflect on the need to make space in our lives for shifts in energy and productivity. Winter rest, spring hope, summer productivity, and the autumn harvest and collection of seeds. I want to leave you today with these words from a Mary Oliver poem called Sometimes. Instructions for living a life. Pay attention. Be astonished. Tell about it. During your next cycle of seasons, I challenge you to follow these simple instructions. Pay attention to our neighborhood, your neighborhood, your neighbors, our neighbors. Be astonished and talk about it. May it renew your spirit for God's work. Amen.
Can you hear me now? We're going to watch two videos. The first one will be of Kala, and the second one will be of Tony, both who also attended the conference with us.
Hello, I'm Kala. These are my takeaways from the 2026 Inhabit Conference. Number 1, start with your why, then get to your how. Once you know your why, the how becomes easier. So start with the why. 2, free is unsustainable. There is no purpose and no why, no drive to keep it going forward. 3, if you have a passion, likely someone else has that same passion, and you want to start with something you know. 4, listen to your neighborhoods. In our neighborhood in the Thurston County area, there's the Food Source Foundation. Our church has a little pantry. Tumwater and Shelton have little gardens. There might be a way to link them all together and make it into one cohesive neighborhood community. If you have a dream, you can build it with no money. There is ways you can do this, such as other foundations, reclaim wood, and free furniture people leave on the curbs. You can build something with no money. 6, finally find other people's gifts and cultivate them, and you can become their mentor. That's all.
Pastor Alexa asked me to share with you what I gained from attending Inhabit 2026. I go to the Inhabit conferences because it fills me with so much hope. My latest trip was my 4th time to attend. The first time I went with Pastor Ruth, and then there were 2 times in between. While there, I am surrounded by people, mostly young adults, who tell stories about how they are working to make this world a better place. Some stories are told through art, some through music, and others are beautifully spoken. One woman told about how their neighborhood was built from a place with no grocery stores, no medical, no dental care, and no spaces for their children to play. They found resources, they cleaned up empty lots, and went to work. They now live in a neighborhood that has stores, it has a medical clinic, a dental office, and a gymnasium, and gardens. This trip to Inhabit, I traveled with 7 others from our church, all of them younger than me. I bet you couldn't figure that one out. They all have dreams of how to make our world a kinder place to grow old in or to raise their children. As you're sitting in the sanctuary this morning, look around you at all of the young adults. After service, introduce yourself. Find out what are their dreams. See what you can do to help them, how to support them. It can be something as small as a thank you or you're doing a great job. I guarantee you'll feel more hopeful.